recording and F2 to resume. Boom, we're going. Yeah. Welcome everybody to the Tuesday evening screencast video coaching mastermind group call coach thingy. And we kind of do it all here, that's for sure. We'll get into some mischief for sure. We do have a bit of a pre-planned topic tonight, and it's video players. And I don't know why I choose such potentially complex subjects for everybody. Michelle says it's because I'm good at explaining complex things to make them understandable, but I think I might just be a glutton for punishment because I kind of was setting up some content here. I've been kind of wanting to do something on video players for a while because they're kind of a key piece. But I'm very fascinated to know what you folks have in the way of questions for video players, because that's going to be kind of key. There's, like I say, a bunch of complexity potentially involved, and if I can answer specific questions, that's going to be kind of good. I do have a few slides and overview stuff to get us going. Okay, yeah, just kind of pile your questions about video players into the chat box. And really just anything you can think of. I'd like you to just kind of off the top of your head, anything that just kind of, well, I don't know about this or about that when it comes to using a video player. And then what we'll do is I'll kind of go over just some of the high-level stuff. We'll jump over to some demos and examples and stuff like that, but we'll also then kind of deep dive into some of your more specific questions. Okay, good. We got some questions coming in. Right. Yeah, and these are going to be good. These are going to be good ones here. So we got some seasoned folks here. So let's go ahead and just kind of jump into a little bit of an overview kind of a thing here. We're going to talk a little bit about video players 101 during this special screencast coaching webinar. So let's kind of kick it off here. When we start to talk about video players, there's something that we kind of have to keep in mind. So we'll start with the very basics here. Here's the scoop. If you want to watch a video online, you got to have a player. Period. There's just absolutely no way around it. And in fact, I'll back that up a little bit. If you want to watch a digital video, even on your local computer, you gotta have a player. And so that kind of begs the question, well, what is a video player? It's literally just a software program capable of playing a video file. So that rather leads to the question, what is a video file? So I want to make sure that you understand these are two different things we're talking about here. We are talking about a video file itself, and I'll explain what that is in a second. But we're also then talking about a piece of software that uses that file and then does some stuff with it. So file formats in general, and this is true on like any file that is on your computer. A file actually is something called a file container, and video files happen to be what's called a multimedia file container or just a container. And so what that basically means is that if we kind of look at some of the things we might expect to see on our local computer, you know that a video file is an actual file because it will have an extension. Right? It will be a .avi or a .mov, a .wmv, or a .mp4. So these are files, and they're called containers because I'll use mp4 as an example. An mp4 file contains data. It contains video data. It contains audio data. And there are a few more exceptions or other things that it can include, but that's kind of essentially what it is. So you can think of a file format or a file container as all of the stuff that is a video in terms of data. Today, primarily, the good news is, you noticed we had kind of a list on the previous slide, but anymore today, there's really only one file container format that we really concern ourselves when it comes to distributing videos online. And that's primarily what we'll be talking about. It's the MP4 file container format. It's more accurately called MPEG. MP4 is like short for MPEG-4, which is the Motion Picture Experts Group definition of what that data in the file contains. So it's, like I mentioned, it's video, it's audio, but it can also be used to store a few other things like subtitles and some kinds of images and things like that. And it also allows for streaming of that data over the internet. So that's why it's kind of become one of the more pervasive file formats out there. It's very efficient at delivering the data that it contains in a streaming fashion, which of course, if we're delivering a video over the internet, is a handy thing. Because if you think about it, video files can be very large. And if you had to wait for an entire 150 megabyte, or if it's uncompressed, like a 2 gigabyte file coming down to your computer, you'd be waiting a while. So all that technological crap is all kind of handled and taken care of in the file container format, right? So when we produce a video out of, say, Camtasia, or create a video with PowerPoint, we create, our preferred format is an MP4 file on our computer, right? So kind of the way to think about it, when I said you gotta have a player, you gotta have some kind of software that knows what to do with that file. So let's say that I just produced out a video on my computer, and I open up my Windows Explorer and I double click on that file. What happens? Can you view that file? Yeah, most of us can, because why? We all have some kind of player installed on our computer, whether it's the Windows Media Player or the VLC player or Quicktime or whatever it is. We have some kind of software program installed on our local computer that lets us view that file. Right? So it's the file and it's the software. So kind of the way to wrap your head around what that means is that this is Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word, as many of you probably know, has a .docx extension. Right? So Word, just like most files on your computer, are really just containers. Inside a Word file, there's data, like your text, but there's also stuff in there that knows about formatting, about fonts, and all the other stuff, the styles and things that Word makes possible. But if I just gave you a .dcx file and you did not have Microsoft Word installed on your computer, you would not be able to view it, right? You would not be able to use it. You need to have a program that understands and can work with whatever data is in whatever file container you have, or a program that understands. So not only Microsoft Word knows about all the stuff in a Word file, but there's also the Word Viewer, OpenOffice Writer, and things like that. So the same kind of is true for a video file. You can have a video file, and then any software, like any video player that understands that format, can then use the stuff, the data that's in that file. Does that make sense to folks? And is something like that ever kind of confused anybody? Well, I got a file and I need a player? Well, that's why. That's why you need to have that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's kind of press onwards here. So video player software you can think of this is the YouTube player, and we'll talk more about stuff like this in a minute. But the software, the player, provides all the functions and features that can then display in various ways the video file itself, the data, the video and the audio, for example. And it has features. So the basic play button, the volume levels, it knows, the elapsed time and the total time of the data, and then most players have other features that they can also use in conjunction with displaying their video and audio data. So like going full screen or into theater mode or speeding up the video or changing the quality of the display of the video. Those are all functions of the video player. They have not really anything to do with the video file itself. So that's kind of an important distinction. So different software programs, different video player programs have different features. The Camtasia player, for example, lets us add things like a table of contents and things like that. So in addition to a lot of the other controls or whatever, be aware that different video player softwares, just like almost any other computer program, have different features and functions, right? So that's kind of the scoop on that guy. Here's the problem. It's not really a problem, but here's where a lot of the confusion ensues, is that when I say you need a software program or a video player, there are literally thousands of them out there, of these programs. And so I thought what I would do is just kind of hit some of the highlights and the top level things to think about when it comes time to decide on using a player. Now, the thing is that there are certain times when we need to provide a player or when we can use someone else's player. I'll give you an example. YouTube. When you go to YouTube, you don't need to worry about a software program. You don't need to worry about a video player because YouTube provides the player. If we upload a video to our own server or to Amazon or something like that, then we need to provide our own player that points to that video and displays the data and has features. Okay, so that's just a quick part of that, but literally there are just tons of them. So I thought what I'd do is kind of break it down a little bit to help us wade through some of all that. So it kind of boils down to, I mentioned different video players have different features. So it will be useful to kind of think about or understand what features do we want in a video player, and I'll show you some examples in a minute. Another consideration is where the video is hosted, right? If it's hosted on YouTube or Vimeo or any of the other video sharing platforms, well, they provide the player. So we're kind of, married to that scenario to a degree for the most part. Or in other words, we don't need to have a player because they provide it. And we can take advantage of that. Also, where will it be used? Where do we want our viewers to view it from, I guess is the way to think of that. Will it be on a video sharing platform? Will it be on our own servers or something like that? On a blog? There are some considerations there. So kind of where do we want our videos to be for our viewers to view, right? If your needs are very simple in that respect, that's going to cut those thousands of possibilities down significantly. And then finally, here's one that I thought would probably be relevant for everyone, and it has to do with price. So I'm going to kind of touch on just a few of these, and then we'll jump out and kind of see some different examples and whatnot. But in general, what you'll find is that there are different features for different players. Kind of discuss that. And in terms of what you need or want in features, most of the time, quite frankly, I think, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the time we just kind of want people to be able to view our video. So we want a play button, we want a pause button, we want a volume control, things like that. Fairly simplistic player control functions. If that suits you, then you can kind of eliminate a bunch of complexity out of the gate. But more and more, the interesting thing is that video players are becoming quite intelligent, and they can do a lot of stuff with just, a regular video file. We'll see a lot of different examples of marketing video features. For example, a lot of video players nowadays will allow, say, for sales videos in particular, when I talk about marketing videos. So for sales or squeeze page videos, you can have your video start to play on a page, and then after a certain amount of time, maybe at the beginning of your pitch or whatever, have a buy button appear below the player. There's all kinds of functions like that. You can actually have a opt-in form pop up inside the videos nowadays. So a lot of the more advanced players are kind of geared towards marketing and the features that marketers might want, because we like to take advantage of video for marketing, and you will see that there are just tons of newer features and things like that for marketing video players in particular. And the other kind of big aspect, I guess, is that there are also more complete systems. And what I mean by that is we're starting to see a lot of cloud-based platforms where you can actually control a lot of things in a player, but the platform, the system itself is smart enough to also collect other information and provide other features like analytics or templates for your videos. You can have different skins and all different kinds of looks and stuff like that. And almost all of those systems allow us to easily embed our videos on whatever web pages or blogs or even Facebook and things like that we want to. So be aware that when I talk about video player software, sometimes, and more usefully so, it is more of a complete system than it is just a single little piece of software, like a WordPress plugin or something like that. An example would be lead pages. We use lead pages all the time, and it creates squeeze page and sales page things for us, and lead pages provides a video player that I can just point to a YouTube video and it will play it on that page, or my own videos hosted on Amazon or whatever. And this is really kind of a handy thing. What it does is it removes a lot of the complexity of putting a video upon a page. And I think we talked last week when we were talking about the Camtasia Smart Player and Screencast.com, and how the Smart Player is just very difficult to embed upon a page. So sometimes systems will also provide extra stuff that we can use. Now, whether you or not you care about analytics and things like that, well, may or may not be applicable, but there is definitely something to be said for easily being able to put videos on pages, and we'll take a look at a few examples and stuff. The other consideration is, where will I host my videos? So for example, YouTube, Vimeo, and any of the other video sharing sites provide the player, so we don't need to. And quite frankly, I host an awful lot of my videos, or I at least get them uploaded and exposed on YouTube. Why? Because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. If we want people to view our videos, people go to YouTube to search for videos. And getting our videos in front of eyeballs is kind of a key type of a deal, right? So YouTube is kind of a big player, and there are pros and cons to that. If you mess up and YouTube cancels your account or something like that, then there definitely is the potential of being hosed because someone else is literally in control of your videos, right? So yeah, there's some danger of that, but for me personally, I think that a lot of the benefits outweigh the disadvantages. If you just do the right thing for the most part, and don't be sleazy and black hat kind of stuff, and abuse the terms of service on YouTube, it is a very reliable platform, and it just makes it kind of nice. So if we're hosting on YouTube, and I do both. I host videos on YouTube, and then a lot of times what I do is I use the YouTube embed codes and put my YouTube videos on like a WordPress blog, right? Very easy to do. So I get kind of a double whammy there. I get to host the video, which doesn't cost me anything, right, on YouTube. I get to use their player if I choose, and I can use other players for YouTube videos. We'll see that in a minute. So I get that, and it's a very easy, copy-paste, easy to put it onto an existing web page or blog. Okay, and then we also have cases where we host a lot of our training videos and things like that on, you can do it on your own web server, which I don't really recommend for the most part, because you need a pretty powerful server, otherwise you're going to suffer, from bandwidth restrictions and stuff. We host our stuff on Amazon S3, which is literally a big hard disk in the sky. On the mighty Amazon servers, you cannot bring an Amazon server to its knees. It will stream your videos gigabyte by gigabyte just beautifully. So where you host your videos, again, will dictate, well, now we need a supplier. Okay, so just kind of consideration there. A lot of times we'll put our videos on regular HTML web pages, and that includes things like lead pages, right? On WordPress, and more, very importantly, to be able to view videos on mobile devices. Video players are becoming what are called mobile responsive. So anymore, I would recommend that if you're looking for a video player, I would probably not consider one that was not mobile responsive. And there's a bunch of technicality to that we probably won't get into right now, but most of the features that you'll see will kind of define that. And then the last thing is price. A lot of plugins, especially for WordPress, but a lot of video players out there, there are some, I won't say a lot, but there are some that are for free, especially WordPress plugins. So again, if a simple video player, if the ability to view a video on your WordPress blog is really all you care about, then there are plenty of plugins out there that do that. And a simple plugin search will give you, lots of good options there. And some, I'll just caution you, are pretty spendy. One of the things that I consider there's a couple big things. So we use several video players, and I'll jump out and show those to you in just a minute. But here's kind of the big criteria for me, is that when I purchase a video player program that I'm going to use to provide video viewing for my viewers, is it a one-time fee to buy that software, or is it a monthly fee? You'll see a lot of applications out there now where they charge you every month, and some of that stuff can get really expensive. There's one service out there called Wistia that I never used it, but I've kind of looked at it a bit, but it's just so hideously expensive. It doesn't perform any better than Amazon, and for the life of me, I cannot understand why a lot of big players, in the internet space insist upon using Wistia where they pay huge monthly fees and bandwidth, and oh gosh, it's just ridiculous, right? But here's my kind of tip on this. Like I say, I use and own several video players. I never pick up a video player unless it is on a product launch special. Why? Because for the most part, you will get your absolute best deals during a product launch. For example, one-time fee versus a monthly fee. On lots of product launches, you can pick up the software or the platform, and I'll show you examples of that in a minute, for a one-time fee instead of a monthly fee. Once the product launch is over, boom, they go to monthly or yearly, annual fees and things like that. So if you're looking for some of the more advanced players, I seriously recommend that you only go after ones during a particular product launch. There's not too much to worry about there. Even players that have been launched for quite a while, they relaunch like quite often. And unless you are in some kind of super duper hurry to acquire, a particular player, we're seeing more and more of these come out all the time. And the competition is pretty fierce. In fact, I could look back to the beginning of the year, and if there haven't been at least half a dozen very decent professional video players that have launched that you could use, and I'll caution folks, you don't need to get every player out there. If you got a player and it works for you, you can kind of roll with that. So I'm going to kind of jump out here and I'll kind of explain some of that. For example, you can roll with it. Here is one that we use quite a bit. It's called Easy Video Suite. It's from a buddy of mine named Josh Bartlett, and he heads a software development team. And when I look for a video player, I want something very solid. I've been using Easy Video Suite for 6 years, something like that, and it does everything I need or want it to do, and it's an example of one of those systems that I kind of talked about. So Easy Video Suite, for example, has the ability for me to easily add my videos up to Amazon. Okay, the system doesn't care where the video lives, so I just upload and it does it automatically to Amazon. I can do things like split testing, and I get the analytics and things like that. We don't really track our sales on these at the moment, but we could. So this is kind of an example of some of the other marketing features that a very solid system player can kind of give you. Now, again, granted, I don't know how many of you folks necessarily care, about how many views and things like that, but this is for videos that we host on our Amazon platform. Okay, so that's just kind of one quick example, and I'll have links to like all of the ones that we use and stuff, but I just kind of want to touch on a few of the basic concepts here, and then we'll jump into questions real quick. Another one that I purchased on a launch special, and I think I might even have the sales page open here, so we'll take a look at that. But this one is another good platform, and it also creates pages for my videos. So if you think about it, a lot of the complexity in some cases is getting a video upon that page, like I mentioned before. Well, some systems will not only let you configure your video player, and they'll do some pretty good job of it, but they'll also do things like create pages for you. I talked a little bit about lead pages before, but this particular platform really just let's just edit one for a second. One of the things I like about it is that you can, and this is true with a lot of the different players and systems now, this happens to be cloud-based. So I am logged in, to a particular account. But what you'll find more and more is that you can very easily just kind of turn stuff on, turn stuff off, point to where your video is, and this actually kicks out, again, HTML code. And yeah, that might be handy for some folks, but just kind of depends. Configuring video players used to be very difficult. You used to literally have to go into the HTML code and put in parameters and stuff like that. You don't have to do any of that anymore. You can basically, almost any good video player will, have some kind of configuration aspect where you can pick and choose which of those features and functions I talked about on your video player. So for example, you can turn things like autoplay on or off. You can even remove the controls in some cases, which I find kind of irritating for the most part, but you can do things like that and whatnot. And again, the ability to have something that is mobile, responsive, and friendly is again something that a lot of these system level tools kind of provide for us. So this one's called Press Play. Now here's kind of the thing I was talking about with the product launches. I believe that this is the current sales page, and if we kind of look down here, I recall picking this up for a one-time fee like a couple of years ago. So you notice I'm still here. My stuff is still good. I have not paid any more for it, but it does a lot of stuff, and I kind of like it. I'm not using it probably as much as I could, but things like these timed call to actions, all these marketing features. This particular one, if I choose to, my video will start to play, and then before someone can watch the rest of it, they have to share it. And some of these marketing things I kind of find, I don't know, sleazy and irritating. But I do like the fact that I can automatically integrate with my autoresponder, and again, right on my video, a opt-in form can pop up. Yeah, that's handy, right? So that kind of thing. But let's just go down here a little bit. And so and I really haven't looked at this. I literally just opened this sales page up before we got on. $297 a year, right? So that is not uncommon. But I can promise you, I think I paid less than $297 during the launch. It was probably $197, and it's probably lifetime access. Right? So again, that's key. I would probably not purchase this for $300 a year, let alone $49 a month. Even though they'll host my videos and all that good stuff, you got to have yourself a lot of videos to make the hosting stuff kind of worthwhile, right? So yeah, Gord, hold on a second. I got a few links and stuff here for you. I'll put them in the chat box. These are ones that I use, but again, I'm going to start with Easy Video Suite. I will put that in the chat box, and I will tell you, do not buy this, and I'll tell you why. Because Josh, if we look at this, their last major release was like a year ago. They're coming out with a new updated version, and they are going to relaunch. So again, I mentioned a lot of these companies will relaunch. You'll get that launch deal again at some point. Easy Video Suite is a good example of that. So watch for my notification on that. Press Play, don't know about those guys, but I'll put these links in mostly so you can kind of, when you start to compare features and stuff like that, it's kind of good to know who some of the major players are and to understand what's available. So if nothing else, keeping a little bit up on, oh, well, this one does this or this one does that, that's kind of a useful exercise also, right? So let's see. Another one that I really kind of like, and I really love, because I paid almost nothing for it during the launch, is VuPlayer. This thing just is a lovely thing. It's cloud-based. It's been out for quite a while, so it's battle tested. It has all the kinds of stuff. A/B split testing. You can create video contests with the thing. And it's just a wonderful, beautiful player. Stupid easy to configure. Even as easy to embed on websites. The interface is clean. It's elegant. The support is awesome. You know, so these are the kinds of things that I look for in a premium player. And I don't even know what this costs right now. I scrolled down a little earlier to look for a buy button. I didn't see one, other than try it for $1, which always kind of worries me, right? But it is packed with features. And when I picked it up, gosh, again, it was a one-time fee, and it really just kind of blew everything else out of the water. Let's see. Like I say, right now there isn't even a buy button. I don't pay anything monthly or for a certain number of views. You got to kind of watch out for that too. Some systems, they limit you to the number of views and stuff like that. Well, that's just lame. You know, I don't go for that. So whatever version of this it was that I bought, for sure it was lifetime access, unlimited views, and things like that. And that's because it was on the special. Yeah, try for $1 usually means that it is now a monthly fee, and that would not surprise me, Gord. So that's kind of the scoop. That's why we look for stuff like this. So I actually went out and looked this week to see if there was anything kind of happening or going on. And there is one from some very reputable folks, Jeremy Gislason and Simon over at Promote Labs. Also very good software developers. They have a new one called, it's not new, I think this might even be like a relaunch of a new version. It's called MonkeyPlayer. So a little bit of a goofy name, but it does, and I don't own this, I haven't tried it, but this is the kind of thing that if I wanted a full-featured player, I think, based on the features and the reputation of the folks, that I could probably get behind, right? And I could get it, and it would be on a launch, or you know, on a product launch special. So this is just one that happens to be kind of going on this week. And again, I have not tested it, but I think what we'll see, maybe we'll see on the sales page here. Yeah, so you get like this early adopter offer, right? And so we can use it for our YouTube videos. It kind of looks like VuPlayer in, you know, or the other systems in its configuration. There's some demos and stuff here. So in my case, I remember I have that list of considerations. I need to be able to host my videos on Amazon. Oh, okay, well here we go. This one kind of fits the bill. Let's see what else we got here. So maybe I'll just kind of go through some of this and talk a little bit about some of my criteria. So easily edit players centrally. That would be a lot like the same kind of thing is true here for Easy Video Suite. So I configure all my players centrally. Okay, so I like that. For HTML and WordPress, right? So that's important and kind of handy. Nothing to install, no video hosting fees, YouTube, or MP4 video. So it's kind of like a centralized place to configure players and then have all these different kind of features. So let's see. Redirect viewers, that's pretty standard. We use Optimize Press. So WordPress, yeah, I need that. Optimize Press, even better. Lead pages, now you're talking. And, you know, things like that. HTML, so far it's looking pretty good. No reoccurring monthly fees.
Sweet.
free updates for life, unlimited video views, unlimited players, so I can put it, on as many sites as I want. Of course, a guarantee, and I know for a fact that these guys have excellent support because I've dealt with their products before. Looks like we get some bonuses. Hey, it's a product launch. You gotta have bonuses, right? So let's see what else we get. Early adopter account. How much is the thing? Well, let's see. Let's click add to cart. See what we get. 20 bucks. Wow, that seems kind of like a good deal. I'm sure there's probably an upsell or 2 or 12, but this might be something that I would consider fairly seriously. I probably want to check out the demos and stuff, but these demos are probably done by Stephen Luke, would be my guess, because he's with their team. He's an excellent screencaster. So yeah, we might check some of these out. But that's kind of how I go through, a little bit of an evaluation process and stuff. Okay, let's jump up to questions. So I haven't looked at the questions yet, but here's what I'm going to guess. What do you think of this, Lon? How does it compare to that? And I'm going to just, before we dive into questions, say, man, it's too hard to tell. Seriously. So keep it simple with your criteria. And I guess my overall recommendation is, seriously, don't sweat it too much. All of these options, all of these different players, as long as it does what you want it to do, you don't have to get hung up in too much of the bells and whistles stuff. I'll give you an example. Last week there was in fact, if I go to let's go to my top projects folder here. These are all the things that I'm currently working on, evaluating, or just haven't archived yet. But one was something called Video Remix. And again, I know the developers here. I did some initial testing and stuff on it. But what it does is it connects to your Aweber account or your autoresponder, and it can pull information from the autoresponder, like somebody's first name, last name, and whatever other data you have in your autoresponder, like, I don't know, address or whatever, and it will put that in a video, in, a placeholder. So you can literally customize videos, and it does it all automatically on the fly. So you could open up, I might even have a screenshot here of one of my tests. Yeah, so this is just a YouTube video, and I was able to customize it by adding this line of text right here and a field from my Aweber list, the first name field. Do I have a screenshot where it actually... I didn't save one where it actually did it, but it would insert their name. And this was just a silly test, but you can maybe imagine that there might be some uses for that. But is that what I really care about, or is it just like one of those new gimmick kind of things? And there are lots of those coming out, and some I let you know about. I don't rarely use, too many of them. They're kind of interesting and whatnot, but I'd keep it simple. Stick with the basics. Get yourself a good, easy to use, durable, flexible player, and just roll with it. And, if you feel like at some point in the future, hey, it might be kind of interesting to personalize videos for someone, well, when it's on a launch special, then consider it. That kind of thing. All right, so as I go up to the questions here, I know there's going to be a bunch that I'm really not going to kind of handle too well, but we'll touch on them. Okay, so Gord, our best question winner, or our most frequent question winner, let's see. Some players feature all kinds of fancy CTA overlays. Those are call to action overlays. And many don't work in places like Facebook. Any caveats to share on overlays? And yeah, Gord, I would say that overlays, and what he means by overlays, again, let's see, let's go back to, I think I closed out my VuPlayer. Let's see if MonkeyPlayer has an overlay. So where you can add an opt-in form or a buy button right in the video, that's called a call to action overlay. Yeah, I'm sure I saw one in here somewhere. But anyway, the issue with that, it gets to be a little bit technical when you're working on different platforms. So yeah, it might work great on an HTML page, but if you think about it, Facebook is a system, a proprietary system that doesn't necessarily adhere to HTML. So if you write your player to run on HTML, well, then there's a whole other can of worms on Facebook. So I guess my caveats there would be just understand that you're probably not going to find a player like that works literally everywhere. And besides, if we have the same conversation 2 weeks from now, Facebook's probably going to change something, right? So, don't get too hung up in being able to do everything everywhere. Pick a strategy and decide if a call to action overlay maybe on your website is a useful strategy, and just roll with that. And then make your cost analysis and that kind of thing, right? Some video players are cloud-based and don't perform well. Should we stay away from players that host your video in cloud? For example, I have had mixed performance from VuPlayer. However, if we use a player that uses Amazon S3 for storage, then performance is more reliable. Yeah, certainly that's a consideration, Gord. So one of my questions would be for systems that are hosted in the cloud, PressPlay, VuPlayer, where do they get their hosting from? I promise you that they probably don't own their own servers necessarily. In fact, a lot of them are built upon Amazon S3 servers, because Amazon lets you do that. They provide programming interfaces and stuff where you can build systems that use their systems, right? I haven't really noticed much in the way of performance issues, but then I'm not, we keep it kind of simple. On our WordPress site, we use the optimized press player, or on lead pages, we use the lead pages player. Of course, we're streaming all those from Amazon. Yeah, it's certainly, whenever you are hosting on someone else's platform, there is always the possibility of losing a bit of control. And, that's kind of one reason why we like Amazon. We're probably not going to get shut down, because all Amazon does is, deliver video. There's no real terms of service and stuff that you can screw up, and then we provide our own player and stuff, right? So what do you think of video players that try to combine shopping features? Yeah, and that's a lot of what the call to action overlay stuff does. Peter Beattie had a couple of players that come out with stuff like that. I kind of test them and see what the features are and stuff. But again, if you look at the sales pages on a lot of those things, they'll say instantly skyrocket your sales, and that's just crap, for the most part. If it provides a useful function, then maybe it's going to be maybe a little bit better, but don't believe the sales hype on all the sales pages, because that's just junk. Now, that being said, Peter just recently did a video player gosh, and there's so many of these, I even forgot the name of it. But it would let you configure to ask a question at the beginning of a video, to segment your audience, to narrow the focus of what your audience or your viewer would be interested in viewing. For example, if you promote health or fitness stuff, right? Well, men have different fitness goals than women do. So as part of a video marketing strategy, a video series could be created that asks, so you're interested in fitness. May I ask if you're a man or a woman? And I'll get you the best and most relevant information. And then these two little buttons pop up. Well, you answer the question, and then it picks the video content based on your desire to view. So could that increase, things like conversions and engagement? Yeah, sure. But I don't know if I'd hinge my entire video world on it. I tried a few tests with it and stuff, but quite frankly, it's not something we're looking at implementing yet. So things like that. Yeah, and a developer's license is another good question from Wall. And that really only comes into play if you are creating videos and doing the work for clients to, get their videos out there, right? So if you're doing client work and you want to be able to configure your video for your client's website in a system and then, just get an embed code and pop it on their site, then something like a developer license might come into play. And that's just really another way for some of the developers out there to kind of hose more money out of you. VuPlayer is currently $37 a month, monthly, or $16 a month if you pay for a whole year. Yeah, but here's kind of the bottom line. It's still, quite a chunk of change every year. Donald Mitchell asks, how about YouVid? And that's a good question. YouVid is from a good buddy of mine, Steve Washer. And, oh gosh, I think if you guys want YouVid, you better jump on it, because I was just going to look and see. Steve sent a message out where I think his kind of one-time fee thing is ending. Let's see if we can find YouVid. So YouVid is another just excellent player. Has a lot of it's elegant. It has a lot of good features. It's mobile, responsive. Oh, here you go. He used me as a testimonial on his sales page. Yeah, so YouVid is a good one. It's a universal player, plays everywhere. The thing is, and I'm surprised I didn't have it in my list. Lots of good stuff. HTML5, so it's built for the future, works in the cloud. And I know Steve put a lot of work into this. He had some top-notch developers on it. So put that link in there. What you might do is, if this, I don't even know what he's charging for this, to tell you the truth. There you go. Commercial version, one-time fee, no recurring fees. Okay, $300 for a pro-level player is pretty good. It's where you get into the $297 a year kind of stuff that, oh gosh, that's just, not all that good. So I would recommend checking out YouVid. Like I say, I think he was going to end the one-time fee thing like really, really soon. If for some reason that, you were interested in that, I would suggest, gosh, I don't know if he has a support link here. Yeah, contact. You might even contact him and say that, hey, Lon told us about this. Is there any way we can still get that? Maybe I got some juice there. So does StudioPress not have a video player? How does it compare? I'm not really sure about StudioPress, Bill. And that's kind of an example of, well, There's thousands of them out there. I don't know the ins and outs of all of them. And again, plus they change like constantly. So it would be literally impossible to compare even like two together hardly. Key reason I asked about YouVid was this testimonial on their site. YouVid is, yeah, that was my testimonial, says Donald. Yeah, YouVid is very, very good. It's a good one, right? So in a few days we'll be adding a video hosting option, says Donald, relating to it. So it looks like he has the same email. You will now be able to upload videos through the YouVid interface. Oh, that's new. Here's what's important to know about this transition. We will stop offering a lifetime commercial license in 3 days. We will begin offering subscription plans. Existing users will remain unaffected and will receive additional benefits going forward. Right. So there you go. Maybe MonkeyPlayer for, you know, a quick, simple player if you don't have one and kind of want one with more features. And maybe YouVid. And this is all, you know, like this week's news this week. if I was looking to get me a video player, I'm probably this week, right now at this moment, looking at these two options. You know, simple player and maybe something a little more robust. That date is tomorrow. Yeah, so this ends tomorrow. But like I say, what you might do is contact Steve, tell him we were, you know, talking smack about him on the call, and see what he might be able to do for you. He's the boss, so tell him I said to hook you up. Okay, I think we actually got through most of the questions and stuff. Hope that was kind of useful. It's really it's a can of worms subject for sure. And if you have any, you know, additional questions and things like that, be sure and pop them in the Facebook group, and we'll kind of hit it. But other than that, I don't know. Let's hit Lon's browser real quick. Oh, somebody asked about QuickTime. I'm going to put this link in and also put it in with the replay. Let me make sure I put it in with the replay. Control V. There is an official response from TechSmith. Actually, I'll put this in the I'll post this in the Facebook group. I don't think I've done that yet. But there are some issues now that the government is recommending everyone uninstall QuickTime. Your videos will still work in Camtasia because they use their own codec. Remember, QuickTime is just a video player. Well, TechSmith also understands the MOV file format, so it can deal with, you know, you don't have to have QuickTime to view or work with MOV files, right? You guys learned that tonight. That kind of deal. QuickTime is the player software. MOV is the video file format, right? So there are some caveats and whatnot, and then there's a support article here. Was that useful for you guys, or was it just like more confusing than anything else? It's kind of a confusing topic. But hopefully you got like a few nuggets and stuff anyhow. Sometimes you gotta get down into the dirt a little bit to get a grip on what's going on, right? All right. I'll let everybody go then. Have a good evening, and we'll see you next time.